Hi, I'm Christopher Stewart. How I met Peter is actually quite an interesting story. Um, I was in New York City and there was a small uh, ad in one paper. It was barely even advertised anywhere that Peter was coming to the US and he was doing an autograph signing for Star Wars, a promotion for Star Wars, in a small library in the middle of Manhattan or Chinatown. I forget exactly where exactly. But I had shown up, and I was one of maybe like 5 fans who'd shown up and for the signing and whatnot. And I talked to him for a long time afterwards, saying, maybe if you guys had advertised this a little bit more, you'd get a better turnout. And he laughed, saying he liked it quiet. He wanted it to be small. He didn't want to deal with a lot of fans, and he was actually glad that this was happening in the U.S. because he couldn't do this kind of thing in the UK. He'd be swarmed by Hammer fans left and right, and he couldn't even relax for even 4 seconds. And he was in a library, he was with his books, he was absolutely happy. The funny thing was, is later in life I kind of sort of got a touch of that sort of feeling as myself. I was on a date with Lizette, and she and I were out at lunch, and I never actually saw what happened. I was just looking at her expression. And she went, "Oh shit," and she threw me into the car and dove in after me and went, "Drive, drive, drive," and the driver was going, "Oh my god." And apparently we were being chased by fans all down the street, and Lizette was just laughing, going, I can't believe it, I'm dating a Beatle." And that's some of the funny, crazy stuff that I've been through with Lizette. But so in some extent I can kind of understand how he was feeling back then. But that's how I originally met him in New York. And then a few years later, when I was doing films in Italy, I was working on the set of a production. I think it was one of the Edgar Allan Poe films. I think it was like The Oval Portrait or one of the other films that we did. And I was doing a stunt sequence of a haunted wheelchair going down a flight of stairs. Now, I didn't actually know that Peter had spent years campaigning in the UK to ban this stunt, because apparently a number of stuntmen had died doing that stunt in the UK. And Christopher Lee had brought Peter Cushing onto the set because Peter was just kind of not feeling all that great about acting, and Chris was like, "Come on, they're starting all up again. They're even going to try and redo Hammer Films and Hammer Studios. We have to get you back up." And so they brought him on board just to try and cheer him up and to get him back into the spirit of acting. And when he saw me doing the stunt, he was just horrified. He was petrified with fear, screaming, "No, you'll be killed." And I did the entire sequence perfectly fine, and he looked at me and said, "Oh my God, you're the only person I've seen do that lived." And I said, "I'm fine. I got a full rolling neck brace. I got a full rolling wheelchair. They've designed this thing perfectly, so there's nothing that could actually happen to me unless some really strange thing happened, like part of the set fell on me or something." And he was completely relieved. And then he suddenly realized that I was the same boy he talked to in the library. Then he and I got talking quite a bit afterwards, and Chris was explaining how he was trying to bring Peter back into the fold of acting. And I said, "Well, let me do some talking." And I brought over Mario Bava, and I brought over Dario Argento and Lamberto Bava. And I said, "Weren't you guys talking about doing something specific?" And they started laughing and whatnot. And Peter's just sitting here going, "Look at this kid. He's just being the meet and greet everything." And I said, "Oh, that's nothing. I got a question for you, Peter." He said, "What's that? How would you like to be in makeup?" He said, "Now wait a minute. I've heard 1,000 times, how would you like to be in pictures? Never, how would you like to be in makeup? What exactly do you mean by makeup?" I said, "How would you like to be in makeup?" get the whole beard going, the whole, whatever, change your entire look, be something that looks completely not even you. And then how would you like to use a stage name? That way no one even realize it's you. And he was just stunned. I mean, he'd been treated for so many years as the great icon that he forgot what fun it was just to be an actor. And so we pulled him into the production of The She-Beast with myself and Barbara Steele. And once he started doing that with us, he just took off. He took off like a rocket through space, and he just decided he was going to open up his production company, and took in Amicus Productions and just went through the roof and worked with me as often as he could and taught me as much as he could. We just had an absolute blast. I mean, it was the time of our lives. It was just fantastic. And any time that I would do something that, with him and suddenly say, well, we're done shooting here. It was a short production. And he would say, do you have time? And I'd say, sure. And he'd take me over to England. I spent like maybe 2 months in his house in London, and worked with him in Hammer Studios, and we just had an absolute blast. He was one of the most remarkable people I've ever known in my life. He was one of my best friends. And the only thing I'm really sorry about is that with everything that happened with me coming back to the US, with the craziness of the agents, with leaving high school, going off to college, starting my life, that I couldn't really get back to him. I really miss him, and I really wish I had had the chance to see him again. But I was working with Peter, one of the most incredible people I have ever known in my life.